let's get into it. We're diving into a story today that seriously has everything. A totally corrupt king, a nation spiraling into crisis, and this one lone prophet who just steps out of the wilderness to challenge it all.
So what really happens when you pit absolute corrupt power against unwavering faith? That's the heart of what we're digging into today. It's a story about a nation in crisis, a truly wicked king, and the one prophet who dared to stand up to him with a message from God.
Okay, to really get what's going on, we have to go back to the beginning of the problem. And it all starts with one family that would become infamous, the Omri dynasty.
So for 44 years, that's a long time, this one royal family was just systematically dismantling the nation's faith. It kicked off with Omri, but as you can see, his sons, Ahab, Ahaziah, and Jehoram, they just kept making things worse and worse, which really set the stage for the most notorious ruler of them all.
You know, here's the crazy thing about Omri. If you just looked at his resume, you'd think he was a superstar king. He was a military genius, a fantastic builder. He's the one who founded the capital, Samaria. But for all that political success, what's his real legacy? He's remembered for one thing, leading his entire nation into sin, on a scale nobody had ever seen before.
So after Omri, his son Ahab steps up. And look, if his dad put a crack in the nation's spiritual foundation, well, Ahab came in with a sledgehammer to finish the job.
For 22 years, Ahab was in charge, and the people writing this history, they do not hold back. They state flat out that he was more evil than all the kings who came before him. So you gotta ask, how do you get that bad?
Well, it really came down to a huge escalation. See, the kings before him had corrupted the worship of God, right? They set up these golden calves, which was bad enough. But Ahab, he took it a giant leap further. He didn't just corrupt the religion, he threw it out and replaced it entirely. By marrying Jezebel, he brought in her god Baal and then made Baal worship the official state religion.
So who is this rival god anyway? You have to understand, for a farming society, Baal was supposed to be the big cheese. He was the god of rain and fertility, basically the guy you prayed to if you wanted your crops to grow. Worshipping him involved some pretty wild rituals and was a complete slap in the face to the God of Israel. Ahab had basically outsourced the country's entire future, both spiritually and economically, to this foreign deity.
Okay, so things are at their absolute worst. The government itself is pushing this corrupt religion, and right at this moment, someone new walks onto the stage. A man with some serious guts, ready to take on the king himself.
And who was it? Not some general with an army, not a political rival. It was this rugged prophet from out of nowhere named Elijah. And boy, did he have a message, one that was aimed like a spear right at the heart of Ahab's new god.
I mean, can you just picture the nerve of this guy? He strolls into the king's court and basically says, hey, just, the God of Israel is in charge of the rain, not your God, Baal. And then, for good measure, he adds, and to prove it, I'm shutting it off. This wasn't just a weather forecast. This was a throwdown, a direct challenge to Baal on his home turf.
So just like Elijah said, the rain stops, the land starts to dry up, and King Ahab, with all his power, can't do a single thing about it. But Elijah? God has him tucked away by a stream, and get this, sends ravens to deliver his meals every single day. Talk about a contrast, right? The nation is starving under its powerful king, while God's prophet is getting room service from birds.
Eventually, though, even Elijah's stream dries up. And this is where God's plan gets really interesting. He sends Elijah somewhere you would never expect, deep into enemy territory, right into the city of Sidon, the heartland of Baal worship, to find a widow on the brink of starvation.
I mean, imagine her situation. She has just one handful of flour left, a tiny bit of oil. That's it. It's just enough to make one final meal for her and her son, and then they expect it to just lie down and die.
And then Elijah shows up and asks for something that sounds completely insane. He tells this starving woman, hey, before you make that last meal, could you make me a little something first? It's an unbelievable ask. But somehow, in that moment of total desperation, she decides to trust him, and she does it.
And because of that one act of faith, something amazing happens. It's a miracle. Just like Elijah promised, her jar of flour and her jug of oil, they just didn't run out. Every single day for the rest of the famine, there was always enough. It's this incredible demonstration that God's power to provide works anywhere, even in the heart of enemy territory.
But the story doesn't end there. the stakes are about to get even higher. We're moving from a struggle for food to a battle over life and death itself.
So, after all this, tragedy strikes. The boy, the very son who was saved from starvation, gets sick and dies. Can you imagine the heartbreak? The one blessing she had left in the world is just gone?
And in her grief, she just lashes out at Elijah. Her words are filled with so much pain. It's like she's saying, "Did you only show up to remind me how bad I am and then take my son away?" She blames him for this absolute disaster.
Elijah doesn't even try to defend himself. He just takes the boy upstairs. And then he does this incredible, intense thing. 3 times he stretches himself out on the boy's body, just begging God to bring him back to life.
And it works. God hears him. The boy starts breathing again. Life returns. Elisha carries him back downstairs and just hands his mother her living son. He literally went head-to-head with death and won.
Now, what's really fascinating is that this isn't just a one-off event. This kind of miracle, raising the dead, it shows up again and again throughout the scriptures. You see it with Elijah, who came after Elijah. You see it with the apostles Peter and Paul. It's this recurring theme. And all of these moments are like signposts, all pointing toward Jesus and his ultimate victory over death.
And that brings us all the way back to where we started. Think about King Ahab. The guy had it all, right? Armies, wealth, a throne, all the things we think of as power. But this whole story just flips that idea on its head. So what is real power? Is it found in a king's decree? Or is it found in a prophet's faith? A faith that can command the skies, multiply food, and even reverse death itself. It forces us to ask, where does true authority really come from?